Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This episode is for the 15th day of Ramadan. The 15th day, that means half of Ramadan is gone. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us what has gone of Ramadan, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us the other half, that inshallah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will spend it worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, serving this humanity, because that's the reason why we've been created. Today we want to talk about a very important hadith. Rasulullah has given us a lot of information in this hadith. It could take us hours to cover it, but we want to go over it briefly, to take from it some thoughts that inshallah will help us for what's left of Ramadan and after Ramadan. Rasulullah is telling us, سَبْعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. There are 7 types of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put in His shade when there is no shade but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's shade. Now the scholars have said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's shade in the day of judgment is the shade of His throne, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne in the day of judgment. The first type that Rasulullah tells us is Imamun Adil, is that a just Imam. And the word Imam here, the scholars said that is not just the Khalifa, but it could be any person who's responsible for an asset or for people under him. So it could be the president, it could be the king, it could be a judge, could be a minister, could be a project leader, could be any person that has responsibilities of people and assets under him. So this person is just with whatever he has been responsible for. If he is, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His will and by His mercy will put him in His shade in the day of judgment. The second person that Rasulullah tells us about is that وَشَابٌ نَشَأَ فِي عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ, is that a youth who has spent his youth phase or youth time in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this ibadah is المعنى الشامل للعبادة, is the comprehensive meaning of ibadah. So that means this person, his sleep, his work, his playtime, his reading of Quran, his salah, everything about his life is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now why a youth? This portion of our life is very, very essential, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment will not let any person leave Allah's court until He asks him about 4 things. One of them is specifically about this youth time. This youth time, we have a lot of energy, we can contribute a lot. It's a time that we can be very productive, and is a time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses every individual with. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about this. So it's very important to spend this time in ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next type that Rasulullah tells us about is that وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ, is that a man whose heart is associated with masajid. The moment this person walks into the masjid, he feels that he's at home, he feels relaxed, he feels tranquil, he doesn't want to leave this masjid, and the moment he leaves, he can't wait until he comes back. We can take this phrase and projected in our reality today. It could be a community center, could be a masjid, could be a place where Muslims gather and pray, so that this person feels this great degree of relationship with that place that's filled with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person, inshallah, will be in the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when there is no shade but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's shade. The next type that Rasulullah tells us about is that وَرَجُلَانِ تَحَابَّا فِي اللَّهِ اجْتَمَعَا عَلَيْهِ وَتَفَرَّقَا عَلَيْهِ, that there's these 2 types of people. Now the words that are mentioned so far as rajul, it doesn't just mean a male, no, it means a male and a female, because the word rajul is not gender specific. Even some Arabs say imra'atun bi alfi rajul, that a woman like this certain woman, for example, if they want to compliment her, they would say she's worth 1,000 men, because she has these characters, this attitude of quote unquote manhood, if you want to put it in Arabic. Going back to our hadith, these two people have come together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever they came to do together, whether it was a business, whether it was a community project, whether it was memorizing Quran, whether it was just building friendship, it was only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that when they departed, they didn't depart just because they didn't need that other person for materialistic gains. They departed because they are going for other things to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that their departure was also for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These two people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises that He will put them in His shade in the day of judgment, bi'idhnillah. And then the next type is that وَرَجُلٌ دَعَتْهُ وَامْرَأَةٌ ذَاتُ مَنْصِبٍ وَجَمَالٍ فَقَالَ إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهِ. Is that a man who's a woman who with status and beauty, whatever status that is, whether it's social, economical, political, whatever status and beauty, called him for adultery, but he said إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهِ, that I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person will be in the shade for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is a very tough trial, considering these two qualities that are mentioned in the hadith are very attractive in a man's eye. The next type that the Rasul tells us about, that وَرَجُلٌ تَصَدَّقَ بِصَدَقَةٍ فَأَخْفَاهَا حَتَّى لَا تَعْلَمَ شِمَالُهُ مَا أَنْفَقَتْ وَمَا تُنْفِقُ يَمِينُهُ. Is that a man who has given charity. Again, a man here could be a man or a woman or a male or a female. He or she has given this charity for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they made it so sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that no one knew about it. And the analogy that's given here is that even his left hand doesn't know what his right hand is spending, because he's making it very sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next type is actually a very important type, because it has this characteristics of self-purifying, of tazkiyat al-nafs. Rasulullah tells us وَرَجُلٌ ذَكَرَ اللَّهَ خَالِيًا فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَاهُ. Is that a man, again a man or a woman, who remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he was alone, so that and then his eyes teared up. This person is sitting by himself, is remembering the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is remembering his bad deeds, is remembering how he's very small in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this person, when he was sitting alone, when he is very sincere, no one is watching him, his eyes teared up. This hadith we find that a lot of these acts, they require this sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They allow this special connection between the nafs, between the heart or the qalb, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept what's gone from Ramadan, and to accept what's gonna come from Ramadan, and to accept our deeds, our siyam and qiyam. I wish you all the best time in Ramadan, after Ramadan. Wa jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.